Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. And specifically, welcome to our special segment today, the Sidebee Report.
Great to be diving in.
Yeah, so our mission for this deep dive is pretty straightforward. We're going to unpack this stack of sources you've provided us. They're all focused on projecting the Chicago Bears offense for the upcoming 2025 season.
That's right. A lot of anticipation building there.
Absolutely. And the central question, really, that we want to explore is how this new coach, Ben Johnson, how he plans to bring the very best out of Caleb Williams. And, what does success actually look like for this pairing everyone's talking about?
Yeah, what's the measure? It's key.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We've got some pretty fascinating insights here, straight from people on the ground and, expert analysts weighing in.
It really feels like a pivotal moment for the Bears, doesn't it? And our sources, they really underscore the calculated steps being taken.
Calculate, yeah.
What's fascinating, I think, is how the team isn't just, assembling talent. They seem to be intentionally crafting an entire offensive ecosystem, really designed to elevate Caleb.
Right, an ecosystem.
Yeah.
And when you look at the immediate word coming out of the offseason stuff, OTAs, rookie minicamp especially, about Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson, the word is intense.
Intense, yeah, that's the buzzword.
Not just intense practices, apparently, but an intense atmosphere. It really sounds like Johnson is bringing in a very precise, demanding approach from day one.
Oh, he absolutely is. Courtney Cronin, for example, she observed things firsthand, right? And she reported this specific instance during mandatory minicamp.
Okay.
It was a 7-on-7 drill. Caleb checked the ball down. Now, checking down, that's not inherently bad.
Right, sometimes it's the smart play.
Exactly. But Johnson immediately lit into him. And the issue wasn't the check down itself, but that Caleb was late making that decision, just late.
Yeah. So correcting something that small.
Correcting something that small, like a seemingly tiny detail, it's become completely routine, apparently. Which, says a lot about Caleb's coachability, too.
Yeah.
That seems to have impressed Johnson.
So it's really about precision, timing. That definitely highlights Johnson's intentionality you mentioned.
Yeah.
Our sources mention he holds specific one-on-one meetings with Caleb. He believes, this is a quote, where the truth comes out the most.
Interesting phrasing.
Yeah. It's apparently an approach he sort of cultivated from his time in Miami and Detroit. He noticed that players can get defensive when they're called out in front of their peers.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So does this maybe suggest a more nuanced kind of coaching? Like tough, but maybe empathetic in a way?
I think it does. Yeah, it's a careful calibration, you see.
Yeah.
While those one-on-one sessions, they create a safer space for, honest, direct critique. Johnson is also not afraid to call them out in front of his peers when he feels it's necessary. He sees it as vital for Caleb to take that next step, right? And it fosters the accountability that, frankly, both the coaching staff and the quarterback are demanding. What's really fascinating here is how this tough-minded, accountable coach also manages to be apparently very relatable to his players.
How so?
Well, it's not just what he says, but his ability to pinpoint exact moments, teach from them, but without, crushing confidence, it builds trust. And that's absolutely essential for a young quarterback.
Okay, that trust factor is huge. So with that intentional coaching style setting the stage, it brings us right to Caleb Williams' development.
Yep, the main event, really.
I mean, that's exactly why Ben Johnson was brought to Chicago, right? To develop the #1 overall pick.
Absolutely. Job one.
In our sources, they consistently highlight that a key area, maybe the key area for improvement for Caleb, is going to be managing the game.
Game management.
In college, he often thrived by ad-libbing, running around, making those crazy throws that filled up his highlight reel.
And look, that stuff is spectacular to watch, but this is where the NFL imposes a pretty harsh reality.
Right. While that off-script improvisation was great in college, that style, it just doesn't consistently work in the NFL. The margin is so thin, as one source put it.
Thinner margins, yeah.
You might get away with a few plays where a 50-50 catch saves a chaotic moment. But just as often, maybe more often, that same approach leads straight to drive-killing sacks or turnovers. It's just, it's a high-wire act. And it's not sustainable as your main way of operating in the pros.
That distinction, college versus pro, it's always crucial, isn't it?
Huge.
So the emphasis here is really on communication between Caleb and Johnson. Setting healthy parameters is the phrase used, What kind of parameters are we talking about here? Like hitting a check down in the situation, but maybe not forcing a throw in a 2-minute drill. Is it that specific?
Precisely. That's exactly it. The sources really emphasize it's about understanding the why behind the play call and knowing when to stick to the structure.
Okay.
Actually, one expert, drawing on their own experience, as a former QB,
Really stressed how difficult that jump is without an incredible level of support and clear parameters from the coaching staff. It's a massive mental shift you have to make.
I can imagine.
And if you look at the analysis of Caleb's college tape, it does point to some inconsistent fundamentals, footwork especially, and his ability to deliver the ball consistently, repeatably.
But these are seen as fixable.
Oh, yeah. Widely considered rookie mistakes, nothing egregious or like career-defining flaws. And this is where Ben Johnson's expertise really comes in.
Right, his track record.
His primary task is to hammer on these fundamentals, getting Williams to throw in rhythm and on time. These are described as foundational pieces of Ben Johnson's passing game.
Like what he did with Goff.
Exactly like how Johnson basically resurrected Jared Goff's career, rebuilding those core habits. But look, it's not an overnight fix. It's going to be a project. Through summer, through training camp, preseason.
So patience is needed.
Absolutely. Think of it less like flipping a switch and more like carefully laying brick by brick, foundation first.
A project, right. And when you talk about foundational pieces, development, you also have to address the elephant in the room.
The sacks.
The sacks. The weight of expectations, and that significant concern from last season. Caleb Williams took, 68 sacks?
An alarming number, yeah, 68.
Our sources are pretty unequivocal here.
Yeah.
This is just not sustainable for a long career. Basic physics, one source said. Your body just can't take that kind of punishment season after season.
It's a really stark number, and if you connect this to the bigger picture, it just highlights the immense difference between his college play and the NFL game.
How so?
Well, think about this. He apparently had only 8 snaps under center in college. 8.
No, only 8.
Yeah. A formation often associated with playing within structure, timing. Compare that to Jared Goff's 226 under Ben Johnson.
That's a massive difference.
Huge disparity. And it points directly to Caleb's tendency, not to play within structure or within time. In the NFL, success can literally come down to 1/10 of 1 second.
Incredible margins.
So Caleb needs to prioritize playing on time, within the pocket first. Then, those occasional great plays out of structure, they can complement that. But the sources are crystal clear. If those sack numbers aren't drastically cut down, then nothing else we talk about matters. It's the absolute baseline for survival, for success, everything.
Nothing else matters. That's powerful. Really drills down the priority. And it's not just about the on-field stuff either, is it? There's this whole concept of football maturity.
Right. The off-field, the sideline demeanor.
Yeah, our sources indicate that how Caleb comports himself on the sidelines, how he comes out of the huddle, that's all under a microscope now. There were even hints that some coaches from the previous regime were not overly thrilled when Caleb Williams told our chef, Seth Wickersham, that he was watching film alone.
Ooh, interesting detail.
Yeah, that specific anecdote, it points to questions about an accountability standpoint.
Well, it's true that last season was, let's be honest, largely a mess for Caleb. Different coaches, that perceived lack of chemistry with the OC.
Right, a lot of moving parts.
And while Ben Johnson will undoubtedly help provide stability, the sources also make it pretty clear that Caleb deserves some accountability for how things went down, too.
So it's not all in the situation.
No. And apparently Caleb himself will tell you that himself. He knows. Factors contributing to those sacks, holding the ball too long, sure, not taking checkdowns sometimes, wanting to make the splash plays instead of just playing within the scheme.
Trying to do too much.
Maybe. And even scrambling from a clean pocket right into a sack. Plus, the film apparently shows he overthrew the ball on some wide-open touchdowns, leaving points on the field.
Okay, so accountability is shared. And this is where it gets really interesting, right? The buy-in has to start with Caleb Williams.
Absolutely critical.
Our sources are really emphatic. He got everything that he wanted this offseason. Everything.
Seems like it, yeah.
He was genuinely excited about the Ben Johnson call. I heard he was even pranked about it before it was official, which just shows how much he wanted him.
Really? That's fun.
Yeah. And beyond the coach, he got a ton of new weapons. Marvin Harrison Jr., Odunze, potentially Luther Burden, Colston Loveland down the line. plus an improved O-line.
They definitely loaded up the offense around him.
So all of this, it creates this huge expectation of buy-in from him, right?
It does. And that concept of player buy-in, look, it's a process. It's not just flipping a switch.
Right.
Our sources drew this really interesting comparison to Lovie Smith's first year with the Bears. Remember that?
Vaguely, yeah. Tough start.
Brutal training camps initially caused player resentment, injuries. They had that frustrating 5-11 season. But eventually when Lovie kind of scaled it back a bit and the team saw the method behind it all,
They bought in.
that initial resistance gave way to buy-in and, later success followed. It's just a reminder that getting players on board with a new, intense system, it isn't always instant. There can be doubt, players feeling worn out before they fully commit.
That's a great perspective. And Chicago's expectations, I mean, they're undeniably high now. The front office, they're in year 3, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Pressure's on.
They expect the team to contend. Another 5-win season is so far out of everybody's mind, as one source put it.
No question.
But for you, the listener, what's actually realistic for 2025 is going from, say, 5 wins to 8 wins. Is that considered success? Especially when the NFC North is now arguably the most competitive division in football.
Toughest division, yeah.
Yeah.
It really might be.
So immediate playoffs, maybe not realistic yet. It really sounds like that crawl before you can walk, ideally.
Exactly. Crawl before you walk. The Bears have unequivocally pushed their chips to the table on Caleb Williams. No doubt about it.
All in.
They got him as preferred head coach. They meticulously fixed the QB room infrastructure, bringing in a vet like Case Keenum. That's smart.
Good mentor figure.
And they stacked the offense with weapons. The message is loud and clear. It's your move now, Caleb.
Right. The onus is on him.
So while the hope is sky high, double-digit wins, probably not super realistic right now, simply because, well, we've got to see it first from Caleb Williams.
You need to see the proof on the field. We do. He needs to evolve into a quarterback you win because of, not just someone you win with.
That's a key distinction.
It really is. It means consistently excelling in situational football, third downs, red zone, 2-minute drills, and also being able to transcend that play when things break down. Rolling out under pressure and still delivering a pinpoint dime. That's the elite level stuff.
The goal, yeah. Transcend the play, turn chaos into points. And thinking about that, let's talk about the ripple effect. Ben Johnson's system, Caleb's development. How does that impact the other offensive players?
Big time ripple effect, potentially.
Our sources really highlight Rome Odunze as a potential breakout player.
Yes, definitely.
Seems almost like a direct correlation. If Odunze breaks out, it probably means that Caleb Williams is breaking out as well.
It's absolutely a direct correlation, I think. And the sources even suggest Odunze has the potential maybe to become the wide receiver 1 over DJ Moore.
Wow, over DJ Moore.
Now look, that's not a slight against Moore at all. He's elite. It's more of a massive compliment to Odunze's incredibly high ceiling.
Okay, fair point. How do they quantify that breakout potential?
Well, one metric mentioned is his threat percentage, basically. How often he was targeted per route run. Last season, it was around 15%.
Okay.
That number is expected to jump significantly, maybe closer to 20 to 25%. That indicates a much larger role, way more opportunities coming his way in this offense.
That's a huge jump in expected targets. Signals massive trust. And, it's interesting. Our sources point out Odunze had 5 drops last season, which was apparently more than any season for him since 2021.
Yeah, that's notable.
Could suggest maybe a little bit of hesitancy or just him learning NFL life, adjusting to the speed, the pressure.
Could be. Adjustment period. But Ben Johnson's influence is expected to be profoundly beneficial for Odunze's production, potentially leading to, pretty even production with DJ Moore eventually. It's all about Johnson tailoring the scheme to their specific strengths.
Tailoring the scheme.
Yeah, and if we connect this back to the bigger picture, Ben Johnson's proven track record, especially with Jared Goff, right? It shows his rare ability to put an elite offense together. And a big part of that is tailoring game plans specifically to the personnel strengths.
So it's not just generic plays.
Not at all. It's not just drawing up plays. It's knowing who not to run a post route, for example, if that player isn't great at it. Or conversely, knowing exactly when to isolate a specific strength.
Like, give me an example.
Well, sources indicate Johnson might specifically design more quick-hitting slants, out routes for DJ Moore to really leverage his elite YAC ability, get the ball in his hands quickly.
Makes sense.
While maybe building more contested catch opportunities downfield for Odunze, using his size and ball skills, instead of, forcing a square peg into a round hole with every receiver.
Smart coaching, tailored coaching.
Exactly, and the projected outcome of this tailored approach. Hopefully, an offense that averages, say, 33 points a game, that was a number thrown out there, a quarterback who clearly takes the next step, and players operating at a really high level because they're confident their coaches have truly tailored the game plan to their unique strengths and skills.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, our listener?
Yeah.
We've seen the Bears are investing heavily in Caleb Williams, not just throwing talent at him, but fundamentally through Ben Johnson's intense, intentional, and highly tailored coaching philosophy.
The structure is definitely there.
Right. Caleb's personal accountability, his development of consistent fundamentals, those are critical. And the team's overall buy-in, as we discussed, it's going to be key to navigating these sky-high expectations.
Buy-in is everything, yeah?
The potential for a quick turnaround, it's certainly there.
Mm-hmm.
But patience, realistic expectations, those seem vital as they, crawl before they can walk in what is clearly the toughest division in football right now, the NFC North.
The stage is absolutely set. The blueprint seems clear. And that player buy-in, especially from Caleb, that feels like the absolute determinant. It's going to be a fascinating season to watch unfold, no doubt.
Could agree more. So for you listening, here's a final provocative thought to chew on. What does it truly mean for a quarterback to be someone you win because of? And how will Caleb Williams navigate that really delicate balance between playing within Ben Johnson's precise structure and leveraging his undeniable elite ad-libbing talent to ultimately lead this Bears offense to true contention? We'll definitely be watching.